Hi, welcome back. We have missed you. We haven't been making videos very much here recently, and I thought we'd go ahead and explain. I ended up at the end of February going to a cardiologist, and I'll explain how that transpired here in a little bit. But with that, I went to see the cardiologist, and they did an EKG on me, and the nurse came in and said the doctor was able to read the results, and you have heart damage. And that's all she said to me. And then she gave me some paperwork that gave me some explanations of some other tests that I was going to need to have run and things that I was going to need to do, and say, some of it's covered by insurance, some of it's not. And so I just walked out, and I was actually at peace walking to my car. And then I went to go meet my husband, and I was fine until I realized I still was fine, but I realized I'm going to have to tell him what they just told me. And so we sat down, and I told him what they told me, that I had heart damage, but I didn't really get any more information than that. He had this really pained look on his face, and I asked him about it later, and he was like, I was just thinking the person I love the most in this world just got this news, and he was trying to process it. And so I told him, I said, how about this? Because I could tell that it was really hard for him. I was like, let's just commit to one another to not panicking about this. Let's just keep going. There's a lot to be done for our kids, and there's a lot, going on with extended family. So I was like, let's just pray and let's just do the tests. And because he was like, I don't care how much it costs, just do the test and we'll kind of go from there. So we just decided we were just going to be just prayerful about it, and we weren't going to get worked up about it, since we didn't really have very much information to go off of, and that we would just kind of, once we had more information, we would take the next step and see what we needed to do. So within 2 weeks, I was able to so that was at the beginning of March. I was able to get 2 of the tests done, and the other one was not scheduled until May 5th. So at the beginning of March, I was able to do the coronary calcium screening, which basically is just checking to see if you have atherosclerosis, or the hardening of arteries. They test from a scale of 0 to over 400, and they will let you know what your range is, to let you know how concerning the hardening might be in your arteries. So anyway, I got my test results back that day. Such a blessing. The hospital literally gives them to you right after they do the test on that one. And so she said, you have 0. That means you have nothing, no blockage, nothing in your arteries. So that's a really good sign. So that was one thing that we could kind of check off our list and not have to think about or worry about. So that was very encouraging. And then the next test that they did shortly thereafter was a carotid screening. So they checked my carotid. Everything looked great with that. So then the only thing I was waiting on was that big echocardiogram to see how the valves function. It tests a lot of things. So in the meantime, all of this is I'm getting tested for things. The reason why I went in and got tested was because my brother, he's in his 30s, and he went in mid-February to see his primary care physician. He thought that he had a rib out of place, and they referred him to a cardiologist immediately. The cardiologist stayed on his lunch break and saw my brother and said, oh, we have to refer you to a surgeon. So then the surgeon determined that he was going to die if he didn't have surgery. So that was really scary, because it was within a few days he was supposed to have his open heart surgery. Then this was February, so it ended up snowing. He had to be at the hospital and for pre-op stuff, and they were still doing some testing during the pre-op. They found that his heart was actually not even strong enough to endure the surgery, so they couldn't even do it. So he ended up leaving the hospital in the snow and just started taking some medication in hopes of making his heart stronger. So about a month and a half or so later, they determined that his heart was strong enough to endure the surgery. So on the day of the surgery, my mom and I sat at the hospital, and I think it was about a 5-hour procedure, and the surgeon came out, and he told us that he had to do a quintuple bypass on my brother. So a quintuple bypass, that means there's 5. They had to do 5 bypasses. They had to use an artery from his arm, a vein from his leg, in order to accomplish this. And so we were just so grateful that the surgeon had the skills to be able to think very quickly, because it was much more extensive than they even thought that it was whenever he got in there to take care of him and keep him alive. Because really, they said that he could have died on the table, that his heart stopped twice. He had to go immediately to cardiac ICU, where they monitored him, and bless him, he was in excruciating pain. As you can imagine, they break your sternum, they open your rib cage to access your heart, and they do all the surgery that he had. The bypass that he had is the most intricate of all the bypasses that you could have. So the nurses had told us, because he is young, he is going to feel like all his pain receptors are intact, and so he is going to feel pain much worse than the 70, 80-year-old patient next door, even someone, you know, in their 50s or 60s. So it was very, very painful and has continued to be painful. It's getting a little bit better. While he was in the hospital, I was just going home and crying because it was just so hard to see someone you love so much be in pain, and there's not a lot that you can do to help them, you know. So I would just stand there and pray, and then just kind of massage his arm or do whatever I could to try to alleviate some of that or discomfort. Discomfort's not even the word, agony. It's just brutal, a brutal surgery. So he got to go home. I drove him home, and I was amazed that he walked into the house on his own, and he has been doing incredible with the physical therapy. He is walking a half a mile a day, and we're just so proud of him and so grateful to God for keeping him alive, really. So we're just so thankful. It has been hard on my kids a bit because I've been in and out, and Josiah in particular missed his mommy and not really fully understood why hadn't been there some. So anyway, all that to say, he is now, my brother has had his staples removed, and there were 55, 25 in his arm, 30 in his chest, and it was like excruciating. He said that it felt like giving blood, like the prick of a needle every time they took him out. It was just so sad. So anyway, that's what's been going on with us. Sorry, I need to get back to my health. So the echocardiogram, whenever I went in to have that done, they didn't give me any results. You just have to wait for the cardiologist to call you and to set up an appointment for that. So when we got to speak with a cardiologist, my husband was with me, and he just thought this was so funny. We both did. The cardiologist said to me, "Well, we thought you'd had a heart attack, but you didn't." So we just kept teasing about that because he was like, "But you didn't." So apparently it was a false positive or something. There really wasn't anything wrong with my heart, and we, through the process, have learned that my brother's condition is from a pre-existing condition that's not hereditary. So so we're so grateful that everything appears to be completely, you know, fine with me. So that's kind of how we decided to go about dealing with all of that information, because we were simultaneously processing everything that was going on with my brother and wanting to love them well. That was kind of this season, has been trying to love our children well and trying to love my mom and my brother well, and just making sure that we have been available to them and making sure that our children always need us, but as far as my mom and my brother, there's been more there that they've needed more love and support. So I think that this season that's what we've kind of had our focus be, and that's why we haven't really been making very many videos, because we've just wanted to be very present for them. But we're hoping now to get to do more, because things are kind of getting more settled on that side of things, and so we're hoping to make more videos and do more for you. And I want to say, if you ever have a prayer need, anything at all that you would need prayer for, please feel free to put it in the comment section on any video. It doesn't matter. We will see it, we will read it, we will pray alongside you, whether it's a health issue or it's financial or it's relational or anything. We would feel completely honored to be able to get to pray with you. Thank you so much for hanging with us, even though we have been kind of a bit absent with all that's been going on. But anyway, so much love to you from our family, and we will see you again soon.